The ultimatum. Captain Maya Chen stood at the viewport of the diplomatic vessel Olive Branch, watching as the massive hegemony warship approached. The alien vessel dwarfed their own, its obsidian surface absorbing rather than reflecting the light of the nearby star. It was a purposeful design choice. The Galactic Hegemony built their ships to intimidate. "Comms are open, Captain," Lieutenant Reyes announced from her station. "They're demanding we dock with their command ship." Maya straightened her uniform jacket. After 2 centuries of isolation, this would be humanity's first official face-to-face meeting with the rulers of known space. The stakes couldn't be higher. "Signal our compliance," she ordered, "and notify Dr. Okonkwo that the clock is ticking." The Olive Branch was guided into a docking bay large enough to house a small city. As Maya led her diplomatic team through the airlock, she couldn't help but notice the heavy weapons trained on their ship from all angles. The hegemony wasn't taking any chances with the primitives from Earth. Supreme Commander Vrax waited for them in a vast chamber designed to emphasize the power imbalance. The alien towered over the human delegation, nearly 12 feet tall with iridescent scales that shifted colors as it moved. 4 arms were folded across its armored chest, while its reptilian eyes regarded them with thinly veiled contempt. "Captain Chen," Vrax said, its translator converting the guttural sounds into English, "your species has been granted a rare honor. Few are permitted an audience before assimilation." Maya kept her expression neutral. "We appreciate the opportunity for dialogue, Supreme Commander. Earth seeks peaceful relations with the hegemony." Vrax's scales rippled with amusement. "Dialogue implies equality, human. Your species possesses no such standing. You have yet to even master faster-than-light travel. Your ships crawl between your home system's planets, while ours traverse the galaxy in days." Behind her, Maya could feel her team tensing, but they'd been prepared for this arrogance. The hegemony's surveillance of Earth had been thorough but selective, seeing only what humans had allowed them to see. "Perhaps we could discuss trade agreements," Maya suggested. "Earth has unique resources." "Enough," Vrax interrupted. "I will be direct, as your primitive brains may struggle with subtlety. The hegemony requires your world. Your species will be granted protectorate status. Those who accept hegemony rule will be permitted to continue existing as a servant class." Maya's smile didn't reach her eyes. "And if we decline this generous offer?" Vrax's scales darkened. "Then we will take your world by force. Your pathetic defense fleet cannot stand against even a fraction of our armada. You have observed our ship's capabilities. We can reach your home world in days, while your fastest vessels would take years to return." Maya nodded thoughtfully. "How much time do we have to consider your proposal?" "1 Earth week," Vrax replied. "Though I fail to see what difference it will make. Your sublight vessels cannot escape, and your weapons are primitive compared to ours." "Nevertheless, we appreciate the time to consult with our government," Maya said. "Would you permit us to send regular updates to Earth during this consideration period?" Vrax made a dismissive gesture. "Your communications are no concern of ours. The outcome is inevitable." As the human delegation was escorted back to their ship, Lieutenant Reyes leaned close to Maya. "They're completely buying it, Captain." "Of course they are," Maya murmured. "They see exactly what they expect to see, a technologically inferior species cowering before their might." Once aboard the Olive Branch, and safely away from the hegemony flagship, Maya called an immediate secure briefing. "Communication blackout protocols in effect," she announced as her team gathered in the shielded conference room. "How long until Dr. Okonkwo's team is ready?" Admiral Kwan, the military attaché, consulted his secure tablet. "The Phantom Fleet is on standby. Phase generators are primed and waiting for your signal." Maya nodded and activated the encrypted quantum communicator, a device the hegemony believed was a simple radio transmitter. Dr. Elijah Okonkwo's face appeared on the screen, his expression calm despite the weight of humanity's future resting on his shoulders. "Did they take the bait?" he asked without preamble. "Completely," Maya confirmed. They're convinced we're still limited to sublight travel. Their arrogance is exactly as intelligence predicted. Typical conqueror mentality, Elijah replied. They've grown complacent after millennia of technological superiority. They can't conceive of a different approach to space travel. Maya leaned forward. How soon can the fleet deploy? We can begin phase shifting in 12 hours, Elijah said. We've mapped the dimensional coordinates around the hegemony fleet. They won't know what hit them. Perfect. Maya's expression hardened. They've given us a week, but I don't want to wait that long. The longer we delay, the more chance they'll detect something unusual. Admiral Kwan nodded in agreement. Surprise is our greatest advantage. Once they realize what we can do, they'll adapt quickly. Maya turned to her tactical officer. Begin transmitting the prepared distress communications to Earth. Make it look like we're frantically warning them of the ultimatum. The hegemony needs to believe we're panicking. Yes, Captain, the officer replied. Maya's thoughts drifted back to the discovery that had changed everything. The Phantom Drive. 20 years ago, Elijah and his team had been working on quantum teleportation experiments when they stumbled upon something unexpected: dimensional phasing. Unlike traditional concepts of faster-than-light travel, which fought against the fabric of space-time, dimensional phasing slipped between the folds of reality itself. The hegemony and other galactic powers had focused on brute-forcing their way through space with enormous energy expenditures. Humanity, lacking those resources, had been forced to think differently. Why break through the wall when you could simply step around it? For the past 15 years, Earth had maintained the facade of a sublight civilization, while secretly deploying explorer vessels throughout the galaxy using the Phantom Drive. They had mapped hegemony territories, studied their technology, and prepared for the inevitable confrontation. How large is the hegemony fleet currently in our sector? Maya asked. 17 capital ships and approximately 30 support vessels, Admiral Kwan reported. Their supreme commander is overconfident. This is barely a tenth of their total fleet strength. And our numbers. 200 Phantom-class vessels ready to deploy, with another 300 in reserve. Maya nodded. More than enough for a convincing demonstration. The next 12 hours passed in tense preparation. The Olive Branch maintained regular communication with the hegemony flagship, playing the role of desperate negotiators seeking leniency. Meanwhile, on Earth, and throughout the hidden bases in the solar system, humanity's real fleet prepared to reveal itself. Maya was on the bridge when the time came. The Olive Branch had positioned itself at a respectful distance from the hegemony fleet, far enough to appear non-threatening, but close enough to have a perfect view of what was about to unfold. Signal the fleet, she ordered. Begin phase deployment. Admiral Kwan relayed the command through the quantum communicator. Then they waited. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. The hegemony fleet continued its patrol pattern, their sensors detecting nothing unusual. Then, like ghosts materializing from thin air, the first wave of Earth ships appeared. They didn't arrive with the telltale energy flares of conventional FTL drives. There was no warning, no buildup of energy, no distortion of space. One moment they weren't there, the next moment they were. Sleek, predatory vessels surrounding the hegemony fleet in a perfect three-dimensional containment formation. The comm system immediately lit up with incoming transmissions from the hegemony flagship. Captain Chen. Supreme Commander Vrax's voice had lost its condescending tone, replaced by confusion and the first hints of fear. Explain these vessels immediately. Our sensors detected no approach. Maya allowed herself a small smile before responding. I believe, Supreme Commander, that it's time to renegotiate the terms of our relationship. As she spoke, more Earth ships phased into existence, their weapons trained on the suddenly vulnerable hegemony fleet. The hunters had become the hunted, and the expressions on the alien faces visible through the video feed told Maya everything she needed to know. Humanity's time of hiding was over. The revelation. Supreme Commander Vrax stared at the tactical hologram in disbelief. Where there had been empty space moments before, hundreds of human vessels now surrounded his fleet in a perfect containment pattern. Their sleek designs bore little resemblance to the clumsy utilitarian craft his intelligence services had documented in Earth's solar system. "Impossible," he hissed, scales pulsing with agitation. "Check the sensors again. They must have used some form of cloaking technology." His science officer's voice trembled. "Supreme Commander, there was no sensor malfunction. These ships did not approach. They simply appeared. There was no warp signature, no hyperspace distortion, no quantum wake. Our gravitational sensors detect no propulsion systems like ours." On the main view screen, Captain Maya Chen's calm expression only heightened Vrax's growing unease. "What trickery is this?" he demanded, struggling to maintain his composure. "Not trickery, Supreme Commander. Science." Maya's voice carried no hint of the subservience he had expected from a primitive species. "As you so astutely observed, humanity has never developed conventional faster-than-light travel. We took a different path entirely." As if to emphasize her point, another wave of human vessels phased into existence, some appearing directly between hegemony ships in positions that should have been impossible to reach without detection. "You see," Maya continued, "while the hegemony and other galactic powers focused on forcing your way through space-time with massive energy expenditures, we humans had to be more creative. Our resources were limited, so we looked for a smarter solution." On the olive branch, Maya nodded to Dr. Elijah Okonkwo, who had arrived via Phantom Drive shortly after the initial deployment. The scientist stepped forward, his presence on the view screen causing another ripple of confusion among the hegemony command staff. "Dimensional phasing," Elijah explained, his voice carrying the patient tone of a teacher. "Rather than trying to exceed the speed of light within normal space, we discovered how to momentarily step outside your dimension, move through what we call the phase space, and then re-enter normal space at our destination." Vrax's tactical officer frantically reported more human ships appearing throughout the system. "They're at every strategic point, Supreme Commander. They've even positioned themselves near our fleet's exit vectors." "Your quantum drag ships force their way through space-time," Elijah continued. "The energy requirements are enormous, the preparations time-consuming, and the approach vectors predictable. Our Phantom Drive requires a fraction of the energy and leaves no trace of our passage. No wonder your sensors never detected our explorations of hegemony space." Vrax's scales darkened to a deep crimson. "You dare claim you've infiltrated hegemony territory?" Maya smiled. "For over a decade, Commander, while you watched our sublight ships in the solar system, our Phantom Fleet has been mapping your empire, studying your technology, and preparing for this moment." To demonstrate, she nodded to her communications officer, who transmitted a data packet to the hegemony flagship. The packet contained detailed scans and images of hegemony worlds, military installations, and even the Supreme Commander's home planet, all taken by undetected human vessels. "Impossible," Vrax whispered, but the evidence was irrefutable. "We could have struck without warning," Maya noted. "Phantom drives give us the ability to deploy our entire fleet anywhere in your empire within minutes, but humans prefer peaceful solutions when possible." Admiral Kwan stepped into the frame beside Maya. "Your ships are currently surrounded by vessels equipped with weapons designed specifically to counter hegemony defenses, information gathered during our covert surveillance. We have targeting solutions for every ship in your fleet." For several long moments, silence hung in the void between the two flagships. Vrax was experiencing something entirely new to him. The sudden, jarring realization that his species was no longer at the apex of the technological hierarchy. "What are your terms?" he finally asked, voice subdued. Maya's expression remained professional. "An immediate cessation of all hegemony expansion plans against Earth and its colonies, recognition of human sovereignty and our right to self-determination, and within 30 days, a council meeting with all major galactic powers to renegotiate humanity's position in the interstellar community. And if we refuse..." Vrax asked, though the question was merely procedural. His tacticians were already signaling that resistance would be futile. Then we demonstrate exactly what else we've learned while you thought us primitive, Admiral Quan stated flatly. Vrax considered his options. The human ships had appeared from nowhere, bypassing all hegemony early warning systems. If they could do that with warships, what else might they be capable of? Could they phase directly into hegemony installations, into the Imperial Palace itself? I will relay your terms to the Hegemony Council, Vrax conceded. Until their response, I offer a temporary cessation of hostilities. Acceptable, Maya nodded, but your fleet will remain here, surrounded by ours, until we receive official confirmation. As the communication ended, Maya turned to her crew. Phase 2 complete. Begin diplomatic protocols. In the days that followed, representatives from throughout the galaxy arrived to witness the paradigm shift in interstellar power. Humanity revealed more of their technological breakthrough, not just the phantom drive itself, but all the innovations that had stemmed from it. Earth's scientists had discovered that the phase space contained unique properties that had revolutionized not just transportation, but energy production, manufacturing, and medicine. Being forced to think differently had given humanity advantages that even older, more established species had missed in their linear technological development. 1 month after the standoff, the Galactic Council convened for the first time with humanity as a full member. Maya, now promoted to Admiral, led the Earth delegation. Dr. Okonkwo presented a detailed explanation of dimensional phasing technology, sharing enough to demonstrate humanity's good faith while maintaining key security protocols. The universe rewards different perspectives, he told the assembled representatives of a dozen interstellar empires. For centuries, galactic civilization has pursued a single approach to faster-than-light travel. You've refined it, perfected it, but never questioned the fundamental premise. He activated a holographic display showing the different approaches. You forced your way through space-time, like drilling through a mountain. We looked for the hidden paths that were already there. Vrax, now serving as the hegemony's diplomatic representative rather than its military commander, watched with grudging respect. Your species achieved in decades what took the hegemony millennia. Necessity is the mother of invention, Maya replied. When conventional approaches are beyond your reach, you're forced to look elsewhere. Perhaps the greatest mistake the hegemony made was underestimating what humans might accomplish when backed into a corner. The diplomatic reception following the council meeting buzzed with excitement and apprehension. Species that had long considered themselves technologically superior now looked at the humans with new eyes. Trade agreements were proposed, cultural exchanges suggested, and military alliances cautiously discussed. They're afraid of us, Admiral Quan observed quietly as he and Maya watched the interactions from a balcony overlooking the reception hall. With good reason, Maya replied. We upended their entire understanding of physics and power dynamics in a single day. The question is what we do with that fear. Maya considered this. Throughout human history, technological advantages have been weaponized, used to subjugate and control. But Earth's leadership had unanimously agreed to a different approach. We turn it into respect, she decided. The phantom drive gives us an advantage, but not invincibility. Better to use this moment to secure humanity's place in the galaxy without resorting to the same imperialism we rejected. Later that evening, Maya found herself sharing a quiet moment with Dr. Okonkwo on an observation deck overlooking the glittering capital of the Galactic Council. What do you think happens next? She asked. Elijah smiled, watching the diverse species mingling below. Something unprecedented. For millennia, galactic civilization has developed along predictable lines. The strong dominate the weak. Technology advances incrementally along established paths. Humanity just introduced chaos into that system. Creative chaos, Maya amended. Exactly. We've shown there are entirely different approaches to the same problems. That revelation will spark a renaissance of innovation throughout the galaxy. He turned to face her. Some will try to replicate our technology. Others will pursue new paths we haven't even considered. Either way, the galaxy will never be the same. Maya nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility. Let's hope we're ready for whatever comes next. That's always been humanity's strength, Elijah replied. We adapt. We innovate. We find another way forward. As the first light of dawn broke over the horizon, illuminating the sprawling galactic capital, Maya couldn't help but feel optimistic. Humanity had spent centuries looking up at the stars, wondering if they would ever truly join the interstellar community. Now, they had arrived, not as supplicants or conquered subjects, but as equals who had earned their place through ingenuity and determination. The Phantom Drive had begun as a desperate attempt to overcome humanity's limitations. Instead, it had revealed that sometimes those very limitations could be the greatest advantage of all. Somewhere in the vast reaches of phase space, Earth's exploration vessels continued to chart new paths between the stars, discovering hidden connections in the fabric of reality itself. And in their wake followed a new age of discovery for the entire galaxy, not built upon conquest, but upon the simple human belief that there was always another way, if only you were willing to look for it.